The day my own brother sold me out, he didn't even flinch, just smiled, pocketed the money and walked past my bleeding body like I was roadkill. That was the day I died, and the day I started planning my return. My name's Jacob Jake Hanley, 42 years old, born and raised in rural Missouri, son of a Vietnam vet and a diner waitress. I was the oldest of four, 2 brothers, 1 sister. Grew up dirt poor, scraping through winters with frozen toes and cans of beans. But I was the one who got out, not because I was smarter, just hungrier. I joined the military at 18, did 2 tours in Iraq, came home with a Purple Heart and a back that clicks every time I stand up. Used the GI Bill to go to trade school, became an electrician, then built my own damn company from the ground up, Hanley Power Light. It wasn't flashy, just steady. Paid the bills, gave me pride. I made good money. Bought a house, bought Mom one too. Paid off Dad's truck before he passed, took care of everyone. Hell, even hired my brother Kenny when he couldn't hold a job to save his life. For a long time, I thought I had a tight family. We had Sunday cookouts, birthdays, holidays. I paid for most of it, but I didn't mind. It felt like home. Until it didn't. It started small. Kenny asking for money, just to float me till Friday. My sister Courtney needing a loan for rent. My youngest brother Mark. He was quieter, but always had excuses for needing help. I gave and gave. And when I said no the first time, something in their eyes changed. But I didn't see it yet, not clearly. Not until the day everything I built got ripped out from under me like a rug soaked in gasoline. It was a Wednesday in June. I was wrapping up a job at a commercial site when I got a call from my bank. Mr. Hanley, did you authorize a transfer of $213,000 from your business account this morning? I remember laughing. I thought it was fraud. A hacker. Maybe some overseas phishing scam. Nope. Turns out, my company's books had been doctored for months. Payroll rerouted. Invoices forged. Contracts signed in my name. But the name at the bottom of those papers, the one that authorized the wire transfer? Kenneth Hanley, my brother. He didn't hack me. He knew me. He knew my passwords, my routines. Hell, I had him on my business account as a junior partner. He used my trust like a crowbar. And it wasn't just him. Courtney had helped forge the papers. She worked part-time at my accountant's office. Mark? He'd been siphoning equipment and selling it for cash. They all did it, my entire bloodline, a full-blown family coup. By the time I figured it out, my accounts were drained, my business licenses were under audit, and the IRS had slapped me with a tax fraud investigation. I lost contracts, employees walked out, and within 6 weeks, Hanley Power Light was dead. So was my reputation. I sat in the house I built, mortgaged now to the hilt, eating cold soup and wondering how a man survives getting stabbed in the back by people who share his last name. I tried confronting them, tried reason, tried screaming. Kenny told me straight to my face, "You were always the golden boy, Jake. All we did was take back what was ours." Courtney said, "You acted like it was your money. It was family money." Family money, like my broken back, lost years, and sweat equity were a community chest. I wanted revenge. I needed it like oxygen. But I didn't want to go to prison, and I didn't want a shotgun ending. I wanted something colder, something permanent, something they'd never see coming. So I got up. I shaved the beard, sold the house, and disappeared. I went dark for 3 years. And in that time, I built something new. But I wasn't building it with love anymore. I was building it with strategy, and I was coming back. I vanished the same way I had once reappeared from war, quietly, without warning, just a man carrying scars and a duffel bag filled with nothing but grit. I drove west with no GPS, no social media, and no forwarding address, left Missouri like a ghost, ended up in a dusty corner of Arizona, Tombstone of all places, seemed fitting. A place built on outlaws and unfinished business. I rented a trailer behind an old mechanic's shop, paid cash, kept my head down. I wasn't hiding out of fear. I was evolving. Every day I woke up with one question. How do I destroy a family that already destroyed me? Legally, permanently, and with style. And then it hit me. They didn't just steal my money. They stole my name. So I'd build a new one, a bigger one, then take theirs away, one by one. I started small. Took a job fixing electrical systems at a solar panel company. They paid crap, but I worked circles around everyone. In 6 months, I was running their field ops. After a year, I'd saved enough to quietly start my own off-grid electrical startup, under a different name. I called it Red Iron Energy. No mention of Hanley, no ties to the past, and this time, I ran it like a man who'd been burned. Bulletproof contracts, private accountants, corporate lawyers who made sharks look like goldfish. By year 2, Red Iron was booming. Solar, wind, battery backup systems. We weren't just wiring homes, we were wiring freedom. People wanted to live off the grid, and I gave them the tools. By year 3, I had a team of 50, contracts in 3 states, and netted just shy of $2.8 million in annual revenue. And nobody knew who the hell Jake Hanley was, but I still remembered every name that mattered. Kenny, Courtney, Mark. I checked in on them from time to time, quietly, through private investigators and encrypted emails. Turns out, karma hadn't hit them hard enough. Kenny was running his own little company now, Hanley Electric. He used my old contacts, my old clients, even my goddamn logo with some tweaks. He dressed like me, talked like me, but he didn't work like me. He was sloppy, arrogant, and deep in debt. Courtney married a real estate broker and started a lifestyle blog where she posted photos of her modest success journey. All those granite countertops and sponsored meal kits, bought with my stolen money. Mark? He was bouncing between girlfriends, DUIs, and a failing used car lot with Hanley Family Motors painted on a sagging banner. They weren't just riding my coattails, they were parading around in my skin. So I made a plan. It started with a call. To Kenny's biggest supplier. Red Iron Energy was looking to acquire struggling electrical contractors in the Midwest, especially ones with access to state infrastructure bids, ones that might be too proud or too stupid to realize they were being hunted. Kenny bit faster than a starving fish. He thought I was some California tech bro named Lucas Gray. Slick, corporate, full of venture capital. Said he was open to a buyout if the price was right. I arranged a meeting in Kansas City, wore a tailored suit, slicked back my hair, and smiled like I'd never set foot in Missouri. He didn't recognize me, not even a flicker. We shook hands, and I started buying my name back, piece by piece. Over the next 6 months, Red Iron merged with Hanley Electric. I had a lawyer draft the deal in such a way that Kenny still thought he was in charge. He signed over 80% ownership for a fake buyout that was mostly tied to future earnings. And then I squeezed, pulled his contracts, changed the terms, switched suppliers, let clients fall through the cracks. By the time he realized what was happening, he couldn't keep up, couldn't make payroll, couldn't refinance. His name, my name, started to rot in the public record. And then came the audits. I tipped off the IRS about some of his creative accounting. Anonymously, of course. They froze his accounts within 2 weeks. Hanley Electric collapsed in 47 days. He came crawling to me, not realizing I was Lucas Gray, begged for help, begged to renegotiate. I smiled and said, "You ever hear the phrase, 'You were always the golden boy, Jake'?" He froze, eyes narrowed. It took him a full 10 seconds to recognize my voice. "Jake," he whispered. I leaned in, cold as January steel. "No, Mr. Gray." And I walked out. That was one sibling down. Next, Courtney. And with her, it was going to get personal. Courtney always had a talent for looking like she had her life together, even when it was duct tape behind the scenes. She was the kind of girl who posted filtered selfies with wine glasses on Instagram while quietly maxing out her 4th credit card. queen of appearances. When she married Todd, some low-rent real estate guy with a fake tan and leased Range Rover, she reinvented herself as a family lifestyle expert. Blogs, reels, paid promotions, her whole persona was built on this illusion of upward mobility. She used words like blessed and grind set while showing off marble countertops and brunch spreads paid for with money siphoned from my company. It made me sick, but I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. The trick with Courtney wasn't force, it was vanity. So I built a character just for her, a tech-savvy real estate investor named Mason Vance, clean-cut, charismatic, deep pockets. I had one of my people set up a fake profile, complete with photos, business links, and even a podcast. We started following her, liking her posts, sharing her blog. Within a week, she was in my inbox. We set up a Zoom call. I had a stand-in actor do the FaceTime. He played the role perfectly, charming, interested, rich. He told her he was looking to collaborate with power couples to build high-end short-term rental properties. Asked if she and Todd wanted in. She couldn't say yes fast enough. Over the next few weeks, I fed her everything she wanted to hear. Flattery, exposure, status. We made up a partnership where she and Todd would put in some capital, help design luxury stays, and we'd handle the back end. It wasn't about stealing money. Not yet. It was about setting a trap and watching her brag about it online. She posted a video. Exciting new real estate collab with investor Mason Vance. So blessed for these new opportunities. Her followers clapped. Influencer friends sent congrats. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything. See, what Courtney didn't know was that the investment she and Todd made was being funneled into a shell company, and that shell company was leasing luxury properties under Red Iron Development LLC, which I owned. On paper, she was committing wire fraud, with her blog and business as public proof of her involvement in projects she didn't legally own or operate. Within months, I had enough documentation to pull the trigger. But I didn't call the cops. I called a journalist, a friend I knew from my military days who now worked in investigative reporting. I sent her everything anonymously: emails, contracts, influencer posts, bank records. The headline dropped 2 weeks later. Lifestyle blogger caught in real estate Ponzi scheme. Husband and wife duo under federal scrutiny. Courtney's world imploded overnight. Sponsors dropped her. Her Instagram got torched. Todd left her within a month, took the car, and cleared out their joint accounts. When Courtney showed up at the county courthouse crying on live TV, I watched from a bar 3 states away and sipped my beer like it was champagne. She'd once looked me in the eye and said I owed her for my success. Now she couldn't afford a latte. 2 down, 1 to go. Mark had always been the wild card, the baby. He was lazy, entitled, and never really smart enough to orchestrate the betrayal, but he rode the wave anyway. When Kenny and Courtney tore my business apart, Mark skimmed what he could and called it survival. At first, I didn't think I'd waste my time with him. He was already wrecking himself. 3 DUIs, 2 failed relationships, and a used car lot that couldn't keep its open sign lit. But then I learned something. He was trying to start over. He'd found a woman, a nice one from what my PI reported. School teacher, clean credit, no idea who he really was, and she was pregnant. Mark was getting a fresh start, and I wasn't about to let that happen. So I did the one thing that hurt him the most. I made the truth public. I compiled every shred of documentation I had about his role in the theft, the IRS records, the forged titles, even his history of underreporting vehicle sales and faking emissions tests. I packaged it all into a pristine digital dossier. Then I sent it anonymously to 2 places. 1, his new girlfriend's school district HR department. 2, the Missouri Department of Revenue. By the end of the month, she dumped him, filed for full custody, and moved out. The state revoked his dealer license. The DMV launched a fraud investigation into his lot. He was evicted, bankrupt, and back living with our mother in her moldy basement. 3 years earlier, I had sat alone, broke, and humiliated, wondering if I'd ever feel like myself again. Now, I felt reborn, but I wasn't done yet. because there was still one final chapter left in this saga. The part where I walked back into town, not as the man they ruined, but as the man who destroyed them. It was a rainy Thursday when I rolled back into Waynesville, the kind of day that makes the pavement steam and the past creep out from the corners. I parked my black Silverado, clean, quiet, and brand new, across from the diner where my siblings used to hang out after church and pretend they were God's favorites. I stepped out, boots crunching gravel, and took a deep breath. 3 years ago, this town had spit me out like bad meat. Today, I walked back in with fire in my lungs and ice in my veins. Word spreads fast in small towns. By the time I walked into the county clerk's office to finalize the paperwork on my newly purchased properties, including the old Hanley family home, people were whispering. Is that Jake Hanley? Thought he moved away. Heard he's rich now. Real rich. Damn right I was. I bought back the old Hanley Electric building at auction for pennies. It had stood empty ever since Kenny's empire collapsed. Grass grew through the cracks in the parking lot. The sign was sun-bleached and missing letters. I walked through the dust-covered shell with a clipboard and a smirk. Then I handed it off to a contractor with 2 words. Gut it. I had plans for that place. But before I could hang the new sign, I had one more stop to make. Mom still lived in the same rundown house she refused to leave, even after Kenny, Courtney, and Mark drained her retirement fund under the guise of helping her manage it. That was the final nail for me. The betrayal wasn't just about me. It was generational. She opened the door slow. Gray hair pulled into a messy bun, oxygen tank hissing faintly in the background. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Jake? I nodded. Hey, Mom. She looked like she wanted to cry but didn't. Just opened the door and stepped aside. We sat in silence for a while. The living room smelled like dust and regret. Her hands shook as she poured coffee. I heard what happened to them, she whispered. I know. She looked at me, something sad behind her eyes. Was it you? I didn't answer right away, just stared at the mug in my hands. They took everything from me, everything I built, lied, stole, left me to rot. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. Silence again. Then she asked quietly, did it help? Hurting them back? I looked up, met her eyes. No, but it made things right. She nodded slowly, then reached into a drawer and pulled out a photo. Me as a boy, sitting on Dad's shoulders. Before cancer took him. Before the family splintered into snakes and secrets. I wish things had been different, she said. Yeah, me too. I left the photo on the table when I stood to leave. I didn't belong in that house anymore. Not really. I'd outgrown the ghosts. But I wasn't done just yet. The reopening of the old Hanley Electric building drew a crowd. The sign out front read, Hanley Sons, rebuilt by the original. I didn't invite my siblings, but I knew they'd hear about it. Kenny was working night shifts at a hardware store in Springfield. Courtney was renting a room in a rundown apartment above a vape shop. Mark was in and out of rehab. They didn't need an invite. They needed a reminder. So I printed a billboard across from the main road into town. Big, bold, unmissable. There's only one real Hanley, and he's back. The phones at my new office rang off the hook. Old clients, new ones. Young electricians who had once been turned away by Kenny now came asking for work. I hired veterans, single parents, people who'd been overlooked and underpaid. I built something honest this time, something my name could be proud of. And as for my siblings, I left them exactly where I found them, broke, bitter, and drowning in the aftermath of their own making. Let them tell their stories. Let them play the victim. Because the truth lives in silence, and my silence was louder than anything they could ever scream. You'd think I'd feel proud, walking through the new office, hearing the hum of tools, laughter in the break room, the slam of metal lockers, and smell of fresh wood and copper wiring. It was the sound of revival, a business reborn. My name finally meant something again, and this time I had built it alone. But pride wasn't what I felt. What I felt was clean, like I'd finally rinsed off 3 years of mud and betrayal. No more debts, no more shame, just the steady rhythm of forward motion. Healing, if you want to call it that. But not the soft kind, not the stuff from therapy pamphlets. This was healing, forged in war. Earned. It was about 6 months after I reopened Hanley Sons that I got a letter. A real one. Handwritten, no return address, just my name and the shop's address. It was from Courtney. I sat in my truck and read it over a styrofoam cup of diner coffee. Jake, I know I don't deserve a response. I know I earned what came my way, but I also know I'm not the only one who lost herself. We were broken long before we betrayed you. You were the one thing holding the family together, and when they broke you, it gave the rest of us permission to fall apart too. I'm sorry, not just for stealing from you, for never seeing you. Courtney. No return address, no plea for help, just words. Truth maybe. Maybe too late. I folded it up, slid it into the glove box next to a military medal and an old photo of me and Dad in front of the first company truck. I didn't need a response. Not from her. Not from any of them. Because here's what they never understood. I never needed revenge to feel better. I needed justice to breathe again. I needed to know I wasn't crazy, that I hadn't imagined it all, that what they did hurt, and that hurt had a consequence. Now they lived it. Kenny, who once called me a weak leader, now worked for one, stacking shelves at half the pay and none of the pride. Courtney, who thought appearances were everything, now lived invisible. Unfollowed, uninvited, forgotten. Mark, who never grew up, was now a ghost in his own life. Child support garnished his paycheck. He called Mom sometimes, crying. I didn't take pleasure in that. I just took peace. A few months later, I hosted a community cookout in the parking lot of the new shop. Burgers, cornhole, country music on cheap speakers. Kids ran wild while old-timers leaned on tailgates and swapped stories about the Hanley family of old. One of them, a retired lineman named Dale, shook my hand and said, "Glad to see your name on the side of a truck again. Your old man would be proud." That one hit. Not because of the compliment, but because for the first time in years, I actually believed it. I stayed late after everyone left, picked up cups, folded chairs, watched the sun dip behind the trees just like it did when I was a boy on that old job site with Dad. Then I walked over to the wall where I'd mounted the new company motto. It wasn't some cliché about excellence or quality service, just 6 simple words carved into cedar, earned not given, always Hanley. That was the last word. Not a scream, not a threat, just a promise. To myself, to my future. To the kid I used to be before betrayal taught me how sharp love could turn. I didn't just get revenge, I reclaimed my name. And sometimes, that's the only justice worth fighting for.